News and views on Salam Media, and as indicated in my introduction, we did say that Matthew Parks from COSATU is our first guest on the show. He is the parliamentary coordinator for COSATU, and we are going to be looking at the Starlink deal with Elon Musk and the implications, or perhaps the advantages for us here in South Africa. Will there be advantages? Is this deal going to be creating much needed jobs for unemployed youth in South Africa? Or once again, is it just about enriching the richest of the rich? And of course, the person that can give us some answers on this issue is none other than Parliamentary Coordinator Matthew Parks. And I'm just kind of wondering if there is a way forward regarding Starlink being present and supplying services to us here in South Africa. A very good morning to you, Matthews. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Okay, can you hear me? You're very soft.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, I can now. Thank you indeed. IOL reported that as diplomatic tensions simmer between the US and South Africa, Pretoria, well, the authorities there are extending, of course, when I say Pretoria, I do mean government, are extending an olive branch to Washington, including exploring a workaround to the BEE law regarding Starlink's presence here in South Africa. And we do know that Ramaphosa's just had that meeting with Trump to try and build damage bridges between our two countries. How do you read all of this, Matthew? And what's COSATU's stance on this deal with the South African government and obviously Elon Musk and Starlink?
Well, for us, and we've been working closely with government on stabilizing and resetting our relationship with the US for the past couple of years. That's because there has been significant tensions in that bilateral relationship, for the past 3 or 4 years. And the US is important. It's the world's largest industrial economy. It's our second largest trading partner. We have 600 companies from the US investing in South Africa, and many South African companies have exported to the US. Collectively, they employ 500,000 South African workers. So it's a relationship we need to manage, to strengthen. We can't afford for it to deteriorate, and there is a real potential for that to happen if there wasn't an intervention. So in that regard, we support that. It needs to be a relationship which respects both countries' sovereignty and needs to benefit both countries' workers and economies, to have trade, to have investment, to have tourism, and that can be a good thing. The Starlink issue is not a new thing. I mean, the Starlink has been having engagement with government since the past year. Government's been looking at the requirements to invest in the economy as well. So that's not a new thing per se. Our only position is that we want all investors to come to South Africa. We need to create jobs. We need to create investment, create economic growth. Our request is that any investor who comes in needs to respect our laws. They need to respect the labor laws that protect workers' rights. They need to respect our tax laws, which funds the fiscus, which enables infrastructure and public services that the economy depends upon to be invested in. And they also need to respect our investor laws as well, including broad-based Black economic empowerment. And the BE law provides 2 avenues for investors. One is a 30% BE shareholder opt-in. And if a company doesn't want to do that or can't do that for whatever reasons of their own country's laws, to then look at equity equivalence, which can be about supporting local manufacturers, creating jobs, investing in local communities. I mean, all of those, many companies have done that previously. For example, Ford, or even the ICT sector like IBM, Microsoft, and so forth. Foreign banks too, and similarly likewise. So our request is that Starlink needs to comply with those laws. And if they comply with those laws, then they're like any other company. But we can't break the law or abandon the law to suit one company, no matter how powerful they are. because that would be unfair to other companies who've complied with the laws. It would give them an unfair disadvantage. It could even collapse the laws. Um, and also, you need to ensure that our democracy is respected. We can't be treated like a banana republic. But having said that, we're confident government can do this, and yeah. So I think
Okay,
for us,
Matthew. All
that's the
right.
road. Yeah.
Okay, according to a report filed by Bloomberg, who are very familiar with this matter, they state that the South African government was preparing to offer Musk a tailored solution that circumvents existing BEE requirements. And this is the important part, rules which Musk has repeatedly slammed as racist and improper. So clearly, he was not interested in engaging. Well, clearly, he wanted a package that would give him the upper hand or the advantage regarding Starlink coming into South Africa. And when we look at the current requirements for any overseas investor into South Africa, 30% of they need to obviously make shares available, 30% of those shares to the to BEE. If we don't go that route, how can we, in fact, guarantee that companies like Starlink will stay good to their word and will come into the country and create job opportunities and create viable solutions both for their company and for the people of the country? I mean, if why are people like Starling reluctant to go the BE, the 30% shareholding to black to BEE?
Yeah, so I think part of the difficulty of the debate is that people assume BE only has one model. It doesn't. It has two models.
Ah,
A lot of the social media hype is by people who have not read the laws. That's one of the difficulties of this era of fake news, when people read headlines and they start shrieking and become hysterical. So the BE law has been around for 30 years. And within it has always provided two models. One is a 30% shareholding option for historically disadvantaged persons. The other option is the equity equivalent, because you have many companies who might have a single owner, maybe a family business, and they can't dilute their shareholding, but then they're allowed to say, well, we can't do the shareholding option, we'll do the equity equivalent option. And we're going to create so many jobs. We're going to support local manufacturers for whatever materials our company needs, or we're going to invest in local communities. And I'm very happy to then quantify it when they apply for the equity equivalent exemption. And so, yes, they can't just give us some, sort of glib slogan or promise. They've got to say, we're going to create 10,000 jobs. We're going to support these local manufacturers to buy material, vehicles, furniture, clothes, whatever. We're going to invest in so many local schools in the nearby communities. Then they can be given the exemption. And it's been done before. Many companies, Ford Motor Company has done it, IBM has done it, Microsoft has done it. I'm sure all these foreign banks who invest here, whether it's the Chinese or the Europeans, haven't diluted their shareholding. I doubt they would. So as long as they comply with those, government will not be able to abandon those to accommodate Starlink. They have to comply with one of those two. If you abandon those, a company which is aggrieved can take government to court and it win that case hands down. So they'd have to comply with one of those two options. It couldn't just be given a blanket exemption. I can't see that being withstanding a legal scrutiny. And even if it did, it would create a dangerous precedence where other companies, they say, but we've complied with the BE law. You put us at unfair disadvantage, and we're therefore going to abandon it. And that could collapse it all. So Starlink has got to find an option. And look, there's not some sort of poor fish and chip company. They can easily do the equity equivalent with lunch money. I mean, they're a very rich company. They've done equity equivalents, I believe, in China or Taiwan specifically. So, I think they'll have to do it. But look, I think we must give government space to do it. They've ministers only unveiled proposals about synchronizing telecommunications law with the BE law. It's open for public comment. So I think we must just see how things unfold, because yeah, otherwise there's a lot of speculation, and that doesn't also help us as well. When people misinterpret things, it just creates a lot of unnecessary confusion for everybody.
So, Matthew, as COSATU, you always have the interest of the working class people of South Africa at heart. You hold up the flag for the working class people. Are you comfortable as COSATU that Starlink coming into the country will be for the benefit of South Africa as a whole? Will they be able to compete and offer? Certain quarters are suggesting that Starlink will be able to offer cheaper data services, because that's something that young people have been complaining about for a long time in the country. That data in South Africa, data is probably the most expensive place in the world to purchase data. Would that be addressed by Starlink? Number one, are you confident that they will be living up to their promises of, if not going the BEE route, giving 30% shares to, offering 30% shares to BEE? If they don't go that route, that they will, via their CSI projects, uplift the poorest of the poor and create jobs. Are you very, very comfortable with those, suggestions that's coming through as well?
Well, look, I mean, right now we're all speculating. There isn't an application yet. The law hasn't been, the regulations haven't even been concluded yet. But let's assume they do apply. They have to comply with the law. I think for us, we have to be a laws-based country. That is clear. We must always respect all of our laws all the time. We do want investors to come. We want to create jobs, we want to create growth. We can't sit at 43% unemployment rate. We can't sit at 1% economic growth rate. So we have to do those kind of things. If they're able to, if they do come, and we're all speculating, if they do come and they're able to help produce data, that's a good thing. Governments have intervened time and again, especially through the Competition Commission, about data being expensive, cell phone access being expensive, not having quality access in many rural areas. And this has been a hindrance to economic growth. And when workers have had to spend extra money on cell phone, airtime, etc., that's been money out of their pockets. And there is a difficulty when you have over-concentration of a few companies in a sector, like ICT, where you apply monopolistic practices take place. But I think other concern is that we also don't want to see local companies which already have existed for years in the sector also struggling. So you need to get the balance right. You don't want to see one global giant coming in and threatening to implode local companies. So it means they'll also have to be competitive as well. But look, the government have to see how it unfolds. The Competition Commission has to be very much on its toes to make sure there's no monopolistic behavior taking place, no collusion, etc. It is going to be a delicate thing. That's why we've also got to give space to government to manage it tightly and not to kind of engage in the fake news and speculation. Because right now, that's all it is really.
Okay, let's look at two issues here as we close off. Are we on the back foot as far as Starlink is concerned? Because number one, ICASA, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, has indicated that Starlink had not yet applied for a license. What does that tell us? Number one. Number two, are we on the back foot regarding Starlink starting up in South Africa, knowing that it's already started up in Lesotho, Namibia, Tanzania, Congo, and a whole host of other African countries on the continent? So where does that leave us regarding the space is concerned?
I don't think we're on the back foot with anybody. South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and government has been quite clear, and even the delegation which went to the US is quite clear. Here are our laws, you are welcome, but you need to obey them. You need to abide by our labor laws, you need to abide by our tax laws, by investment laws, and all of them have different modalities. Some of them have exemptions, some of them have provisions which are flexible, etc. But yes, there is concern because it is a global giant. That does pose certain concerns about monopolistic behavior, which is never a good thing. There is some national security concerns because we've seen the behavior they've exhibited in some countries like Poland and Ukraine, that's a concern. But look, we have to manage those issues, and not to say that our own local companies are angels either. There's always issues. That's why trade unions are constantly having to battle them. Some of these local companies have been taken to court left and right for anti-competitive behavior. So it's not a new thing, and that's why you have institutions like our courts, like the Competition Commission, and ICASA, etc. And ICASA is correct. They had a hearing scheduled, I think, November, December last year. They didn't pitch. So the ball is in their court. Our laws are fairly, and they just need to go through those laws if they want to enter the market. That's not a new thing. The US has similar laws too, where investors coming in have also got to partner with American companies. So it's not any different from this side of the world.
Okay, Matthew, thank you indeed for your thoughts on this matter. We look forward to seeing how this then rolls out here in South Africa. Matthew Parks, Parliamentary Coordinator for COSATU, thank you for your time. It is exactly 8:32 a.m. This is News and Views on Salam Media.